Hello, everybody. Thanks for calling in, and we'll begin, go straight to questions. And let's start out with Chip Towers, and then we'll go to Jake Rowe. I think you're muted, Chip. Chip, you muted.
I'm sorry. Obviously, it's a little bit messy outside. Sorry about that. A little bit messy outside. Just wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your preparations. And you hadn't talked much lately about being pretty limited in your space this season, but obviously you guys have been able to get through it.
Yeah, it was messy outside. We actually got to go outside a little bit, so that was good. But it was wet, but it wasn't unbearable. So we got to go outside in a little bit. I mean, we've been inside. The problem with inside is the turf wears on your legs a little harder. So you don't like being on turf every day. You want to be able to go in and out and switch who's in, switch who's out. But we've kind of had to be in more because we only have the one grass field. So that's been tough. But the preparation's been great. I thought the guys had good energy today, good practice. We're still banged up and beat up, probably as we've been. I don't know. I feel like as much as since I've been here. I mean, I don't remember having this many guys injured at once since I've been here. But the guys worked hard, and they're buying into the plan and executing it.
You mentioned being banged up there, Kirby. Any shot, or what are the chances that you could get some of your receivers back? I know you mentioned yesterday you guys are down to 6 or 7 healthy guys there at wide receiver. Do you have a chance to get Dom or Arian or Marcus back this week?
Yeah, we have a chance on all three. They were both out there running today, hitting 18, 19 miles an hour, so they weren't going full speed, but they were moving around. Rosemead's probably got the best chance, and each one of them's got a chance to make it back. But they're not taking a lot of reps. They're hitting walkthrough reps, stay in the middle part of the game, and then going to see if they can clear by Thursday or Friday.
All right, let's go to Anthony Dasher and then to Mike Griffith.
Hey, Coach. We saw last week how much of an effect a crowd can have on a game. I was just wondering now this week with the script flipped such that it is, how much of a concern is that for your team, and what kind of ways are you trying to get your team prepared for that?
Always concerned when you go on the road in the SEC. You look across the league right now, and I can give you 4 or 5 games of examples of first road trips for teams. And what's wrong is you used to have 25% of your team that had not been on the road, and now we're at probably 50% that hasn't been on a true road game in that kind of environment because of COVID last year. So you're seeing the impact of that, whether it's our game or Kentucky, Florida, Alabama, Florida, all the games, Ole Miss, Alabama. I mean, they're all over the place. So we try to just teach and learn from it, but inevitably, you may have mistakes. You may make mistakes, and you got to overcome those. And you can't let one mistake compound things and make it worse. So that's what we've talked about. We're trying to talk about the threats to us playing well and be aware of them, and then conquer them in practice so that you can go out in the game and play with confidence.
Kirby, how close is Tyke? And as far as Darnell goes, I know him and Brock weren't targeted last week. Can you just talk about what dimension he adds if he's back out there?
Yeah, Tyke and Darnell are both working really well. We're not limiting the reps anymore. They're probably not 100% in terms of speed, but they're getting there. And being on the turf affects them too. It's a different kind of surface. So with the foot injury, it bothers them more than probably anybody. But I think Tyke is much closer. He took more reps today. It's not like just ability. He has ability. It's him understanding the defense, getting back in, getting full speed reps. It's different when you start covering a guy running 19, 20 miles an hour at you. And that's the biggest thing, is getting him back comfortable doing that. And Darnell's, he was really more effective last week than I thought he would be. And he's been able to take his reps this week. So he's moving in the right direction. Biggest thing with Darnell's getting him in playing shape.
All right, let's go to Mark Weiser and then to Seth Emerson.
Kirby, with the defensive line, with guys that look like NFL draft picks and Jordan Davis and Wyatt, obviously they weren't 5-star guys. Down the road with Jalen and Trevon Walker, what's been the key or keys to that group kind of being what it is now and doing what they're doing?
The key is work and growth. I mean, Devontae Wyatt was not the player that he is now when he got here. I can assure you Jordan wasn't either. Trevon's worked a long time really hard. You go back to his freshman year, he made some like splash plays, but he didn't play first and second down much. He played a lot of third down. And he's grown as a player to be much better against the run and being able to play first and second down. So I don't really know what you're asking. They've grown, but that growth has nothing to do with like what they were rated coming in. They've all improved. I think Trey does an incredible job of development, and that's part of football is finding the right person to recruit and then being able to get them and then being able to develop them. And that's a key ingredient that Trey has done.
Kirby, I was looking at lat injuries in players and athletes today, and I'm curious how applicable like Dak Prescott's is, because his was in the preseason, so there's less urgency to get him into a game. I know with baseball players, with pitchers, they tend to, with grade 1, put them on the IL, they miss a couple starts, they come back. With JT, is it easier to kind of finesse it, since throwing a football, the duties of a quarterback are different than a major league pitcher, like finesse it with try to do what you can in practice and even games?
I don't know about finesse it. My first question was, Ron, is he going to aggravate it and hurt it worse by doing anything? And he said basically it's a muscle injury. So anything that bothers it, you don't want to do. But anything that doesn't bother it, you want to continue to do. So he's able today to go out and do some soft toss. It didn't bother it. And that's the same protocol they did with Dak. It was not a complete shutdown. There's exercises he can do in our training room that are bands and throwing motions and things that are not, they don't hurt him. They don't bother him. And as long as it doesn't bother him, then we feel like we're getting improvement, gradual improvement. And that's the key, because the last thing I want to do is push the envelope, re-injure, go back, then a constant cycle of that. So we're not trying to finesse it in the point that, hey, we throw him out there. We're trying to get him to do what he can without getting injured. And I'm not the expert at that, I can assure you. I do listen to what Ron says, and we also consult with other people.
All right, let's go to Dean Legge and then to Jack Duffy.
Kirby, it's been 25 years since the quadruple overtime game against Auburn down there in '96. That was, I think, your third year on campus, but your second year playing. What do you remember about that night? And do you think it kind of launched Coach Donnan and the program forward in a way that it hadn't been at the time?
Yeah, it was a tremendous game and a tremendous atmosphere is what I remember. I mean, it was a big time comeback of epic proportions. It was a crazy finish to regulation. I remember that, and then just remember didn't think you were ever going to stop going out there. I didn't think anybody was ever going to stop anybody, and then we finally had a chance and ended up stopping Damian Craig on like a sweep. So it was a wild game. I don't remember specifics of it because it was so long ago. But
you remember Ferguson's cartwheel?
Yeah, I Ferguson. About 330 pounds doing a cartwheel down the field. That's when you knew he was going to play in the NFL a long time. Talented dude. But it was, those games are always, I feel like the Georgia Auburn games are always like that, just year in, year out.
Hey, Kirby. Bo Nix had some really impressive plays this last week, showing off his mobility and scrambling ability. And, last week playing KJ Jefferson, another mobile quarterback. What's the defensive challenge of facing a mobile quarterback?
The defensive challenge of facing a mobile quarterback is how long you have to cover and how creative you have to be. There's plays there's plays that are 8 seconds long. Our guys on average play 3-4 second plays a long time. I mean, 8 second play is a long time, and he can extend plays. He can win with his feet. Bobo's very creative with quarterbacks that can run. So, some quarterbacks that run can't throw. So he can throw and run. So it adds an extra element that sometimes the design runs are easier to defend than one when you think it's a pass, because it is a pass and he takes off. So it's tremendously hard. I don't think people understand exactly how good an athlete this guy is. I mean, it's been reported to me that he's at 22 miles per hour on GPS. we don't have but maybe 2 receivers on our entire team that can hit 22 miles per hour. So he is a really, really good athlete.
Okay, let's go to Jed May and then to Palmer Thoms.
Yeah, Kirby, when we met with Payne yesterday, he said, Jack Podlesny's why that y'all talked about is, he's motivated to succeed. He's, I think fear of failure is one word he used. Just as a kicker, like how have you seen him sort of go about dealing with that, and how do you as coaches sort of, keep his confidence up, especially, when he had those couple misses early in the year?
Well, he's a hard worker. He has a routine he goes about, and he's just a tremendous kid, an individual, and a success story. And I think the psychological disposition of kickers is always, maybe different than the normal position players. And he goes through, it's more like a hitter. You get slumps and you hit highs and lows, and you try to always err on the middle, never being too high, never being too low. And I think he's brought himself back. He's kicked really well. We've seen him kick more in practice than we do in games, but he's been really consistent, and just very thankful that, he chose to come here as a walk on, and earned a scholarship, because we'd be in a tough way without him.
Kirby, well, we've got you talking about quarterback injuries. A couple of weeks ago, you mentioned Stetson being a little bit banged up with a back issue. Is that healed up, and how has he looked in practice so far this week?
He's looked good. His lower back still bothers him. He has to get treatment on it, but it's not to the point of affecting his performance right now. We just have to be careful with him. And he's done a good job getting treatment on it, staying on top. He's also got a big knee laceration from last week, but it hadn't affected performance or anything. But he's done a good job. I mean, Stetson's a savvy vet that he understands defenses. He's very intelligent, and he's had to learn a lot of the football he's had to learn is through other quarterbacks by sitting back and watching them. And I think he enjoys getting an opportunity to go out there and do the things he's done.
All right, let's go Connor Riley and then Lance McCurley.
Hey, Kirby, you've obviously seen a lot of great athletes in your time as a, defensive coach. What about Adam Anderson's athleticism sort of makes him a unique player?
What makes Adam Anderson a unique player?
Yeah.
Size, speed, athleticism, great get off. I mean, elite get off. He's just long and fast. I mean, you start looking at it, the comparison for me has always been Leonard Floyd with him, because I saw Leonard play for so long and recruited Leonard back when I was in Alabama. Adam has a lot of those traits. His biggest probably issue has been able to handle bulk and weight and gain weight. He's gained a lot of muscle mass, but I'm so proud of Adam's maturity. He's just matured so much. He's become a leader in the classroom over at Rankin, and he was a guy that didn't love school initially, and he's bought into the program and all the things that go into it. So he's a very special person to this program.
Don't see Lance any longer. Let's go to Vance Levy and then Ryan Curley.
Hey, Kirby, when you talk about the hostile environment like Auburn is, as you said the other day, it's definitely one of the most in the SEC. Can you guys hear the Georgia fans, and do they make a difference when they're so outnumbered? And talk about the importance of them doing that this week.
Yeah, it's always important. I doubt they're going to be able to take over the stadium. I can assure you of that. The home crowd in most road games, there's always a pocket of them. There's a little small pocket. They put all the visitors crowd, I should say. They stick all the visitors kind of. I always think of it in the Georgia Stadium. Right where they are, and if you got noise coming from there, it's probably not a good sign. So I don't know how much they can impact the game, but they can definitely impact our players and the momentum. And you want to feel like you've got support when you go into a place like that. But a lot of kids play well on the road because they feel like it's them against the world, and sometimes that's the best mentality to have when you go up in road games. But to each player is different, I think, psychologically.
Hey, Kirby, is there any sort of preparation you guys do throughout the week for those loud road environments? I don't know if you guys use any false noise or anything like that.
Yeah, we do. We use it every week. We use it at home games because our defense has to play an incredible noise and we can't communicate. So we do it in fall camp. We do it. It's fun for the kids. Sometimes they don't want to hear me and Monken and us yelling at them. So they enjoy the crowd noise because it silences us.
All right, let's circle back to Lance McCurley, and then we'll go to Tyler Griffith.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the other day, we talked about Jan Jackson, but let's ask about Payne Walker. And as a specialist, how important is he to the team?
Well, we'd be in trouble without him. Him and Moat have done a tremendous job. Nobody knows their name until they screw up. I mean, every good snap, I've never heard one of you guys say, man, Payne Walker did a hell of a job snapping this game. But y'all gonna be the first one to bring him up if he doesn't snap it good. So he's like a thankless job, right? He doesn't get an opportunity to be thanked for what he does because it's just expected. It's just like understood. And I don't take that for granted, the work he and Moat put in, and they're great leaders in our organization. They do a tremendous job for us.
You were able to shut out Arkansas last week without even creating a turnover. And you mentioned after the game that you weren't elite in that department. How do you become elite in that department moving forward? And is that just kind of on chance, or is something you can create?
Been trying to figure it out for 25 years, bud. I'm still looking. If I can figure out that solution, I can bottle it, and we'll both make a lot of money. So I'm not going to give you coach speak. I don't know how to do it, but I can promise you this: we're trying like hell every day.
All right, we got time for one more question. Anybody want to jump in?
Yeah, Kirby, I wanted to ask you real quick. I don't think we've ever had a chance to ask you, what's it like coaching Stetson? Because obviously with him kind of coming from that walk-on background, getting to where he is, he's probably built a little bit different than most guys. Would you agree with that? And what's it like kind of coaching him? It seems like sometimes he's got that gunslinger mentality and maybe a little bit up and down at times.
I don't look at coaching him any different than anybody on the team. I really don't. I mean, Stetson's got thick skin. He's tough kid. He grew up in Pierce County. He's been coached hard. He's been reprimanded. He stands up for what he believes in. He argues his point. If he thinks he was right, he usually has a good reason for it. I mean, I appreciate the way he approaches things, and all the quarterbacks. I mean, it's not a sensitive subject. If I think they're wrong, then we tell them. We're trying to make them better. And he's done that since he's been here. I mean, the kid has good moxie. He's got good confidence. He's got good composure. You don't see him real rattled very often. And he handles success and ups and downs really well. So I think he's got good wiring for a quarterback.